You scored 81 points in a single basketball game, and dominated the season averaging 40+ points per game. But with such skills, you aren't even qualified to step on a CBA court. You didn't even get a spot for a tryout. Even your teammates, when they see you, mock you as nothing but a waste, just because you were only 1.40 m at age 13, with no basic talent for basketball, while your friend Alian was already 1.90 m at 13, so no matter how well you score, no one believes you have a future. But you just smirk at this. You train from 4 a.m. daily, but you also stick to 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10 kilometers run every day. From then on, you became stronger without going bald, because you are the lucky protagonist who was reborn, and awakened the basketball Demon King system. After choosing the two-way guard template, in the next 5 years, you'll grow to 1.95 m. For this, you only need to train seriously, and upgrade your badge levels to level up, all for the sake of playing in the NBA, and putting in the effort. However, fate is strikingly similar. Although through your relentless efforts, you gained attention from the NCAA, they were only willing to give you a bench position, but you didn't want to waste your time, and resolutely refused, and chose a European basketball team willing to give you a starting spot, heading to Real Madrid youth team to play. As usual, upon arriving at Real Madrid youth team, you still faced doubt, and even mocked, although after 2.5 years of growth, you became a 1.60 m giant. Unfortunately, in front of basketball genetic freaks, you were still like a baby. Then you decided to teach these arrogant guys a lesson. Just then, when you first stepped onto Real Madrid court, a group of tall, youth players looked at you with curiosity. After all, people coming to the court at this time are either players or coaches, and you, a short, yellow-skinned Asian, brought here by the head coach, still made them feel curious. What shocked them the most was when the head coach announced that you would be the future starter for the team. The group of players still fighting for a bench spot erupted and questioned the coach in an angry tone. Why do you get to start? Although the EBA's level of competition is lower than the NCAA's, but in Europe, NBA stars are everywhere. Furthermore, Spanish basketball, although not as focused on as football, still holds a place in the World Basketball Leagues, and has 108 official basketball clubs. Even if they offended the coach, they aren't afraid of having nowhere to play. Those who come here are mostly for the sake of their future, to achieve better results in the professional basketball world, the pride of their generation. They didn't want to be replaced by a short Asian, in the positions they fought so hard for. Although head coach Raul was questioned by the players, he didn't say a word, but instead looked on with a helpless expression, as if saying, "Hey, kid, it's time to prove yourself." Although Raul knew your abilities very well, and believed in your strength, but to get you into the team and even as a starter, he still faced great skepticism. To prove his choice was correct, there was only one way to eliminate all doubts, and that was for you to prove your ability. Then, after seeing the coach's look, you understood his intention. Then you stared at the player who was shouting the loudest, and said, "Hey, big guy, do you dare to have a solo match with me? I'll teach you what manners are." Velasquez is a local Spanish player, and unlike most foreign players, he truly loves basketball. So with an average talent of 1.80 m at age 15, combined with hard training, he finally succeeded in being selected by Real Madrid Youth Academy, and trained even harder to get a chance to start. However, after putting in twice the effort, or even several times more hardship than others, what he got wasn't the team's recognition, but instead he was replaced by a short Asian only 1.60 m tall. How could he not be angry? So when he heard you would be the starter, he was the most agitated. However, upon hearing you say that you wanted a one-on-one solo with him, he laughed. Although he wasn't an exceptionally gifted player, he was very confident in schooling an Asian like you. After all, whether in height or physical condition, he crushed you by more than one level. Then, his initial rage turned into a cold sneer. "Asian kid, remember my name. My name is Fidel Velasquez. He will be your nightmare from now on." After hearing his introduction, you couldn't help but laugh. After all, he's just a 14 or 15-year-old kid, at that passionate, Chinibu age. You wondered if you should be Chinibu too, and have a passionate exchange with him, but you didn't expect that after seeing you laugh, Velasquez would become even more furious. "What right do you have to mock me? Damn HZ, let's just start. I can't wait to dunk right over your head." Seeing him in such a manic state, you just shrugged helplessly. Then you walked to the center of the court, preparing to start a one-on-one solo, a 5-ball game, with you attacking first. After After Velasquez passed the ball to you, he lowered his center of gravity a meter away, arms spread wide in a defensive stance, his eyes staring intensely at you, as if trying to pin you outside the three-point line. Seeing this, you only sighed helplessly. Then, under the gaze of the other players, you casually shot the ball. A moment later, the crisp sound of the ball hitting the net rang out. Velasquez remained frozen, still in that wide-armed defensive pose. Not until the surrounding players cried out in surprise did he realize what happened. You had already scored a point. Damn it! How did he do it from such a distance? Such a casual shot, and he could make a deep three like that? It must be a fluke. After the initial shock, he became even more convinced that you were just lucky. After the next ball was checked, he again took a defensive stance a meter away from you. Seeing this, you were slightly stunned for a moment, but then decisively took the shot. Just like the first shot, the ball traced a beautiful arc and landed precisely in the net. This time, Velasquez was genuinely shocked, and even the spectating players were stunned. If the first shot was luck, then the second shot was pure skill. In an era where the interior still dominated basketball, players rarely focused on three-pointers, let alone deep three-pointers. After understanding your ability, Velasquez made his assessment of you. So you're just a shooter. It makes sense, given how short you are. If you dare enter the paint, wouldn't you just be waiting to get blocked? Only by shooting from the perimeter when no one is looking. Do you have room to perform? Thinking he had you figured out, Velasquez felt confident again. He wanted to tell you that basketball isn't played just by being a good shooter. Once the third ball was checked, he decisively stepped up to defend you. After receiving the ball, you went into a three-point shooting motion. Velasquez sneered at the sight and accelerated forward, jumping to block the shot. But he didn't expect it to be a pump fake. Then you pulled the ball back and suddenly accelerated to the right. Velasquez jumped into empty air, fooled by the fake. He could only turn around and watch you score. Clean and efficient, a seamless drive and layup instantly made the players on the court realize that your skill far exceeded Velasquez's. However, being in the middle of it, he refused to believe in your ability. He shouted furiously, "Impossible!" Again, Velasquez couldn't believe he couldn't stop you. Getting the ball again, he passed it straight to you. You received the ball and saw Velasquez still attacking aggressively. Another pump fake, easily sending him flying into the air. But this time, you pivoted to the left. You have excellent shooting ability and naturally, impressive ball handling skills. Although not yet at an NBA level, it was more than enough to crush a youth team. Facing defense like Velasquez's was effortless for you. Velasquez couldn't read your offensive moves at all and could only lunge forward hard. As a result, he couldn't stop and fell flat on his face. You easily scored another layup. The score was now 4-0. Coach Raul's eyes widened now. He had always known you were strong, but only upon seeing this did he realize one thing. Perhaps due to the difference in opponent's strength, your style of play in China was different from now. In the Chinese high school league, most of your opponents were players of similar height. Even if there were a few tall players, they posed no threat to you at all. So in China, your drives were like a tank, crushing through, or you would just pull up and shoot against the defense, without any unnecessary movements. Everything was kept as simple as possible. However, now, facing players with far superior physical attributes, but you skillfully dribbled, using basketball skills to perfectly showcase your individual technique, while also proving that you are a player with an extremely high basketball IQ. This discovery made him exceptionally excited. A player lacking talent can compensate with skill, but a good basketball IQ cannot be filled by hard work alone. Take Steve Nash from the NBA, for example. His physical gifts were considered meager in the NBA, yet, relying on his super high basketball IQ, he achieved great success in the NBA, and even won back-to-back MVPs in 05 and 06. As an international player, one can imagine that without the limitations of physical gifts, your achievements would be immeasurable. Just as the head coach was fantasizing about your future, you had already shot another standard three-pointer. In Velasquez's desperate gaze, the ball swished through the net again. 5-0. Game over. Your solo match with Velasquez naturally attracted many spectators. Before the game, many players were mocking you, but now, the louder they laughed then, the more their faces hurt now. Many were even worse than Velasquez. Seeing you defeat Velasquez so easily, they finally understood why the head coach made you a starter. You ignored the awkwardness of the surrounding players and walked toward the coach. Just then, Velasquez's roar came from behind again. "I don't accept this. One more round." This time, I'll attack first. One more round. You glanced back at Velasquez, and then shook your head directly, refusing him. I have no obligation to teach you how to play or behave. If you're not satisfied, you can beat me in a game, but for now, you need more practice. After saying that, you turned and left the court, leaving the nearly frantic Velasquez alone and bewildered in the wind. However, after you turned, the head coach, who had been watching you, suddenly spoke. One more round. Let Velasquez attack this time. You looked at head coach Raul, although you couldn't see his purpose this time, but since the head coach spoke, you had to show some respect. You stepped back onto the court. The second round of confrontation began quickly. This time, Velasquez attacked first. After receiving the ball, you didn't quickly drop your center of gravity, but instead closed in to within half a meter, adopting a defensive stance. One hand raised, the other held level, defending both the shot and the drive. You were a basketball trainer in your previous life, so you naturally understood defense well, combined with the system's training, not to mention how strong your defensive ability was. The details alone were flawless. Moreover, Raul's request gave you a rough idea of his intention. So this time, you prepared to be ruthless, to let them see your defensive capabilities. Just as you took your defensive stance, head coach Raul's eyes filled with shock. He knew your offensive ability was powerful, but in the games in Dragon Country, he rarely saw you defend. After all, in most games you played, they were over by the second quarter. The remaining time was spent either on the bench, or in a personal offensive show. Now, from the defensive stance you first displayed, he could tell you were a defensive master. Raul was right. You were very good at defending, and experienced in defending taller players as well. After all, you grew up with that Dragon Country monster, E. You could easily defend the 1.92 ME while training, let alone the 1.80 M Velasquez. Now, Velasquez attacked. Quickly after the ball was in play, he started his footwork, trying to blow past you, but the moment he started, you also stepped forward to seize the position, engaging in physical contact with him. With a bang, the two collided head-on. Velasquez instantly felt like he had hit a wall. Most young players today are still growing, and haven't developed their physical strength. Even an interior beast like Howard was just a clumsy giant before entering the league. But you had not only trained strength in the system, but had trained physical contact with ease since childhood. Velasquez was naturally pushed back. He fell directly to the ground, and he lost the ball. Raul's eyes widened once again. His muscle definition wasn't particularly obvious, but this explosive power was incredible. He wondered what kind of monster he had found in China. Velasquez stood up again, his eyes filled with fear as he looked at you. Although he wasn't a player known for strength, but such a gap also felt unbelievable to him. This Asian player is a monster. You look at Velasquez coldly. You ask, do you want to continue? The second game isn't over yet, but the outcome is no longer in doubt. The rhythm of dribbling, the physical confrontation, the basketball IQ. Velasquez was dismantled by you. Seeing this, Raul, the shock on his face vanished, replaced by an uncontrollable joy, because he realized he had found a treasure. Last year, Barcelona produced a Pau Gasol, who suppressed them. With your addition this year, he believes the tide of offense and defense will turn, and it's time for Real Madrid to shine. And as for him, by developing a first-year youth team player, who jumps straight to the first team, he can move up a step. Yes, skipping levels. Spain has 4 levels of leagues, consisting of 108 teams. You are in the 4th-tier youth league. Above that is the 3rd-tier league with 24 teams. And then the highest level, the ACB Liga Endesa. Of course, the ACB is the most watched, and the professional stage closest to the NBA level. Your goal has always been the NBA. Unfortunately, due to height restrictions, you had to start from the lower leagues. Initially, you thought of making a name for yourself in the CBA, and then entering the NBA draft. Unfortunately, because of some people's discrimination, and some personal reasons, you had to find another way. So, when you were 13, you wrote letters to the NCAA management for 2 consecutive years, hoping for a real-life Shawshank Redemption, to gain their attention. Fortunately, you succeeded, and qualified for the NCAA, but unfortunately the admission notice. Unfortunately you were a bench player not even eligible for a scholarship. There is an unwritten rule in the NCAA. Players without scholarships can never be starters, and my might not even get a chance to play, so you didn't want to waste time on such an insincere invitation. Fortunately, at the same time, Real Madrid coach in the European League noticed your existence, and his sincerity in guaranteeing you a starting position won you over. That's how the previous scene happened. But after 3 years of accumulation, you are close to the 5-year limit set by the system. Then, you will make a huge leap and reach your peak state. With an absolute talent of 1.95 meters, you will appear before the world in the European leagues. Even if you climb up level by level, it would take at least 3 years. Entering the NBA draft then would undoubtedly be a waste of time. So the best way you thought of was skipping levels. Play 1 year in the 4th league to prove your strength, and jump directly into the 1st league. Actually, before you, many European players used their talent to skip levels. Among them, the most notable was last year's Pau Gasol. After playing 1 year in Barca youth team, he entered the highest league. After playing 3 years in the ACB, he officially entered the sight of NBA scouts, and thus entered the draft. And in the 1st round, he was selected 3rd overall by the Hawks, marking the beginning of his peak. So, from the very beginning, your goal wasn't the start of this 4th league, but to use this platform as a path to the highest stage of basketball, the NBA. And someone who shared the same thought was, of course, the ambitious head coach Raul. He also hoped that he could move to a broader stage. In your recent performance, he saw the hope for progress, a player who could rival Gasol. If in the Dragon Country League, you were just a high-performing go-kart, now that you've come to the higher European League, you are a car with a Ferrari engine, like a fish leaping up, like an eagle spreading its wings. Just as you domineeringly asked, "Do you want to continue?" The scene became dead silent. Even Velasquez had to bow his head and admit your strength. Then head coach Raul suddenly said with a smile, "Let's welcome our new partner together. He is a youth from Dragon Country, Manhwa." This time, no player voiced any opposition, and a few younger players even started clapping. Many eyes were filled with envy. This is competitive sports, where everything is decided by strength. There are nearly 2 months left before the new EBA season begins. These 2 months are crucial for you. On one hand, you need to use this time to coordinate with your teammates fully. On the other hand, you also need consistent performance to secure your position in the team. Although your initial performance convinced others of your starting spot, but whether you can win everyone over depends on your play on the court. The Real Madrid youth team, in these 2 months, has also been doing these 2 things: chemistry training and playing a series of warm-up games. Your performance didn't disappoint anyone. After 2 months, you have become the team's undisputed core. The smile on Raul's face never faded, because you were the key to his coaching career. Crucially, the 2 months passed quickly. The youth team's preparations ended. The doors to the new EBA season officially opened. The Real Madrid youth team's first game was a home game against the Barcelona youth team. This was definitely the most anticipated and most heated game in the EBA league. Real Madrid and Barca. Due to historical reasons between Madrid and Catalonia, regardless of the sport or the level of the league, whenever they meet, it's a spotlight match. High-level events are even called El Clásico. Raul also placed great importance on this game. Pre-game training and tactical arrangements were meticulously detailed. Moreover, he was very confident this time. Last year, because Barca had that super rookie, Pau Gasol, Real Madrid was beaten badly. But after last season ended, after Gasol jumped 3 levels to La Liga, the Barcelona youth team's strength dropped significantly. Plus, he unexpectedly gained your addition. With the momentum shifting, he was full of confidence. Barca's current core is Marcelo Huertas, a point guard from Brazil, standing 1.80 meters tall. You need to be careful of his penetration. After arranging the tactics, Raul pulled you aside to warn you. Upon hearing Huertas' name, you had some impressions of him. In history, this man didn't make it to the NBA until he was 32, a representative of a late bloomer. Even at his peak, he was a bench player for Barca's first team. His strength shouldn't be that great, let alone now in the youth team's Barca. However, after Raul's reminder, you also gave 100% focus to deal with the upcoming game. After all, this is your first official game since arriving in Spain. That night, the basketball arena, which holds over 1,000 people, was packed. Football is the primary sport in Spain, but there are plenty of local basketball fans. Many brought their families along, and the atmosphere was intense. The game began. After the tip-off, Barca got the first opportunity to attack. Huertas quickly ran a pick-and-roll with the center, then penetrated inside and used his rhythm to score a layup. Raul's reminder was correct. At least Huertas' basketball basketball IQ is not low. Turning back, Real Madrid ran a play in the front court. You dribbled the ball and glanced at Huertas. Once he was far enough away, you shot directly from beyond the three-point line, just like Velázquez's previous reaction. Your style of play was too advanced. Huertas never expected you to shoot. Once you crossed half court, he just stood there stunned, until the swish sound echoed. Only then did Huertas react. He scored already? What kind of divine play style is this? The fans in the arena were also suddenly stunned for a moment, followed by an explosion of cheers. Although they had never seen an opening like this, the feeling of nailing a three right at the start made them feel great. Turning back, Barca attacked. Huertas dribbled and made a sudden drive, trying to break through your defense, but you stepped up close, giving him no space to penetrate. Helpless, Huertas could only pass the ball inside, but since Gasol left, their interior strength, at a visible speed, instantly dropped from top tier last year to the bottom. After Real Madrid easily defended the shot, they quickly launched a fast break. Your speed was fast. After getting the ball, you rushed to the front court, driving hard right through Huertas. You intentionally sought contact with Huertas, wanting to see what his physical strength was like. The moment their bodies collided, Huertas was clearly at a disadvantage physically. After you jumped, your powerful explosiveness pushed him straight out of bounds. He even tried to pull you back, but couldn't stop your ascent. Then, the baseline referee blew the whistle, signaling a defensive foul by Huertas. Despite the foul, you still made the shot. A beautiful and one. Explosive cheers erupted in the arena once again. Youth team personnel changes every year are very. At first, they didn't really notice that there was an Asian face on the court. However, your opening three-pointer, combined with your aggressive drives, instantly caught their attention. Starting with your individual skill, you led a 6-0 scoring run, igniting the entire crowd. Although the intensity of youth games isn't as high as the senior teams, but this kind of dominant start is something they haven't seen in a long time, so they were no longer stingy with their applause. Some people even started asking about your background. Turning back, Huertas wanted to use the pick and roll again to help the team score, but this time, you clearly acted before the screen, jumping the gun to press him. This press was very sudden. Huertas was caught off guard. After some physical contact, he lost control of the ball. With a snap, the ball was snatched away by you. Basketball in the 90s, especially on European courts, encouraged physical play, and the refereeing was more lenient. The level of physical contact you just used, the referees wouldn't call it at all. After getting the ball, you scored with a fast break layup. After you scored 8 consecutive points to start, Barca head coach quickly called a timeout, although he wasn't sure where this Asian guy came from. But your dominance early still put pressure on him. Now, Real Madrid's coach Raul was beaming. This is exactly the feeling. When he was dominated by Gasol last year, he felt exactly how Barca coach feels now. Now he finally understands how it feels to have a generational talent. It's exhilarating. After the timeout, Barca scored through a coordinated front-court play. Turning around, they quickly double-teamed you. Although this is still a youth game, but European basketball, known for its tactical coordination, instills high tactical literacy from a young age. The moment you were double-teamed, your Real Madrid teammate quickly came over to screen for you. After creating space for you to break through, you passed the ball again to an open teammate under the basket, who easily scored with a layup. Then, during Barca's transition, you stole the ball from Huertas once again, and forced him into a foul on the spot. By now, the fans went from excitement to complete madness. My God, who on earth is this Asian youth? He is truly incredible. He is like a god out here. He has dominated the game. No one can stop his attack. No one can break through his defense. He is the Michael Jordan of our Real Madrid. Seeing this, Barca head coach put his hands on his head. He knew Huertas' abilities very well. Playing with high IQ, he was much more experienced than ordinary young players. But after meeting you, his performance was like a child who didn't know how to play. And that was in such a crucial game. He could imagine that after the game, he would be ripped apart by Barca's management. Actually, you can't blame Huertas' ability. He is a player who relies on basketball IQ, and as it happens, you are also a player with extremely high IQ, combined with experience from a past life and the system's boost. Among the youth of this stage, who could read the game better than you? In other words, the current Huertas is still like a first-grade elementary student, while you are like a university graduate student. It's an absolute landslide crush. If it weren't for the height difference, I believe your current opponents would be the top talents in the NCAA. So, after that, Huertas was suppressed by you. Barca attacked inside. Barca, having lost Gasol, was getting demolished inside by Real Madrid's bigs. Until the end of the first quarter, Real Madrid crushed Barca with a score of 26-8. With your stats of 18 points and 3 assists in a single quarter, you shone all over the court. Thanks to your outstanding performance, Real Madrid fans also learned about your background. Leading to the second half of the first quarter, whenever you held the ball, the crowd would chant your name. In other words, your performance in just one short quarter earned the recognition of Real Madrid fans. This also brought some comfort for the grievances you suffered back home, giving you a sense of emotional relief. After all, having your hard work recognized is something truly worth being grateful for. The second quarter begins. During the substitution phase, you rested on the bench. Taking this chance, Barca's Huertas tried frantically to catch up. To prevent the game from losing suspense too early, Barca head coach gave it his all, giving up the rotation rest time for starters, just to catch up with the score. Fortunately, Hurtado pushed hard. When there were 5 minutes left in the second quarter, he closed the gap to only 8 points. The Barca head coach let out a long sigh. After all, if the game was decided in the second quarter, he would have no choice but to resign when questioned by management. But just as he started to relax a bit, a short whistle sounded from the sidelines. After seeing you return to the court, his hands trembled involuntarily. He quickly called Hurtado back to his side, constantly instructing him, fearing that Hurtado would think he was capable again. Actually, Hurtado didn't need the coach's orders. Hurtado already knew what to do. After the crushing defeat in the first quarter, he didn't even have the desire to look at the ball. Facing your defense, he could only organize his teammates to help his teammates score. But the idea was good, but reality was cruel. After the game resumed, Barca's calculated tactical positioning, just as Hurtado saw an opening and prepared to pass, a high-pressure shadow lunged toward him. As he looked back, he saw you dive straight toward the direction he wanted to pass. That move was like a predator pouncing on prey, so ferocious it left him in despair. Seeing no chance to pass, he pulled the ball back to look for another opportunity. Just as he made the move to pull the ball back, a pair of hands, like pliers, gripped the ball tightly. Before he could even react, he suddenly felt his hands were empty. The basketball was already in your hands. The move was swift and fierce. Hurtado's ball was just snatched away by you, literally just snatched away. Seeing this, Barca coach's eyes widened. Then he screamed foul frantically at the referee. "This is a foul." He waved his sleeves with exaggerated body language, as if to say he was the one being robbed. But the referee ignored him. The hands didn't even touch. How on earth is that a foul? After giving Barca coach a warning glance, he ignored him further. Back to the game. After stealing the ball from Hurtado, you launched a fast break, forcing a layup against the defense of another Barca guard. Your immense strength was something youth players couldn't contend with at this stage, so you easily broke through the defense, scored with a layup. Basketball really is a sport that relies on physical attributes. Your current situation is like LeBron James playing against others. The strong survive, overwhelmingly powerful. Just as you were marveling, a voice suddenly echoed in your mind. Congratulations to the host for unlocking the Fast Break Finisher badge. Bronze level Fast Break Finisher grants a slight increase in speed and success rate during fast breaks. After years of hard training, you exploded in today's game, and finally unlocked a new badge once again. You smiled happily for a long time. You've never been this happy. Here, there are stronger opponents, and fans who like you, although you still prefer playing in the Dragon Country. But after facing various unfair treatments, you had no other choice. You didn't complain about anything. If anyone is to blame, it's your own poor physical talent. It's only natural for people to criticize. After all, not everyone has a system. To prove yourself, only great strength will do. Keep it up, young man. After figuring it out, you became even more serious in the following game, brutally crushing the entire Barca team. In the end, Real Madrid slaughtered Barca 78-46 in the opening match for the new season, welcoming a dominant and successful start. And you only played 3 quarters, 11 for 12 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3, 4 for 4 from the free throw line, almost a 100% shooting percentage, putting up luxury stats of 30 points, 5 rebounds, 6 steals, and 3 assists, delivering a perfectly explosive debut. Although youth team stats don't have much practical reference value, but your performance has already left a deep impression on Real Madrid fans. A 15-year-old, a youth from the Dragon Country, they believe your future will be incredibly bright. You didn't let them down either. In the following few few games, you showed strength far beyond the youth team level. Combined with the system's abilities, you were like a killing machine in these games. 30 points in 3 quarters in the first game, another 39 points in the second game, dominating alone. In the third game, you let loose and scored 45 points, shocking Real Madrid. Your crazy performance made the fans go crazy for you. There were even fans appearing with KT boards with your name on them. You should know that the current games are only for the youth group, and you've only played 3 games. From this, it's clear how much Spaniards love sports. After 3 consecutive games, you have a 4-day break. During this time, you meet someone who surprises you. He is 12-year-old Fernandez. Fernandez is a future pillar of Spain's national team, and in 2007, as the 24th pick of the first round, he was selected by the Phoenix Suns and helped the Spanish national team win multiple international championships and MVPs. Truly a pillar of Spanish basketball, but he's still just a 12-year-old kid and is training with Real Madrid youth team, becoming your loyal little fan. During today's break, he invites you to go out and explore. Thinking about the few months you've been in Madrid, it's been nothing but training and practice. You haven't had the chance to properly see this world-famous city. Most importantly, Madrid has a very famous nickname, known as the world's #1 city for romantic encounters. Recalling before you went abroad, your old man put a box of balloons in your suitcase. You can't help but cringe. What kind of piece of work is my father? I'm only 15 years old. How could one box be enough? Getting off track. Back to the main point. While exploring Madrid, you felt the charm of this ancient city. Its city walls, churches, clock towers, palaces, and other buildings make you feel like you've returned to the Middle Ages. And you also had that legendary romantic encounter. But the female lead isn't from the Kardashian family, so I won't write it out. After all, you all know I only love the Kardashians. Back to the main point. After spending a few days with her, the new games are about to begin. As for whether those balloons were useful, leave that to your imagination. Warm-up training before the game starts. For some unknown reason, your touch is surprisingly good, like something just forged in a furnace. Scorching hot, you hit over a dozen deep three-pointers in a row. This phenomenon caused waves of cheers from the fans watching you. However, amidst the enthusiastic cheering, you suddenly looked in one direction, and seeing the female lead made your body feel even hotter. A feeling you've never experienced before, like 2 chemical substances produced by the human body, one called adrenaline, and the other is hormones. When these 2 hormones are present in the body, a person's various abilities are enhanced, and the way you feel now is like the zone in Kuriko's basketball. In this state, you feel terrifyingly strong. In this situation, you understand why, so you wave to the stands where she is, expressing your feelings. After the warm-up ended, players from both teams entered one after another. Although this is just a youth group game, many fans still came to watch, and most of them came for you. Today's opponent is a top-ranked student team. Their team is famous for fast breaks and an aggressive attacking rhythm, which is very different from traditional European teams. But you don't care about that at all. If it comes to fast breaks, you believe that with your experience from the future. No one knows it better than you. The game begins. The student team grabs possession first. The moment they get the ball, the guard quickly cuts back. The moment he settles behind the three-point line, the ball is already in his hands. Then a three-pointer smoothly sinks into the net. Seeing this, you can't help but smirk slightly. I didn't expect 90s basketball to already have the prototype of the later small ball era. This starts to get you excited. If we're comparing fast break tactics, I have tons of reserves. Let's see what you're really made of. Now it's Real Madrid's turn to attack. This time, unlike the previous games, you choose to run to the backcourt to demand the ball. After a few games, you've ascended to the team leader position. Seeing you demand the ball, Real Madrid players pass it to you quickly. After slowly dribbling to the front court, you don't choose to attack quickly, but instead carefully observe the students' defensive formation compared to their offensive rhythm. Their defensive positioning is far inferior. In your eyes, it's full of holes, so you didn't think twice, and called the center over for a pick and roll, while the students' center was still standing foolishly in the paint. After all, European basketball at this time didn't have the 3-second violation rule yet, so the centers of this era were all like this, thinking that guarding the basket was enough, so you stopped being polite, and Before the defender could navigate the screen, you launched a three-pointer. The ball spun through the air, tracing a beautiful arc and sinking perfectly. After the students scored first, you quickly gave them an answer ball with a three. The fans in the stadium excitedly waved your signs. This kind of offense was exactly what they loved to see. The student team attacks. They wanted to speed up, but Real Madrid was prepared this time, and their attack failed to score. Turning back, you used another screen to shoot a three. With a swish, it was another nothing but net. Just like before, the students' center still didn't come out to defend. It wasn't that he looked down on your shooting, but that he had never seen such a pick-and-roll tactic, let alone how to defend it. This pick-and-roll, which would be perfected in the future, was unstoppable in this era. As your three-pointer hit again, the fans cheered even louder. They were tired of the traditional European half-court style of play, and had high expectations for your highly spectacular offense. They had high expectations. Various catch-and-shoot plays with constant movement, tank-like powerful drives, or dribbling past opponents with butterfly footwork, and picture-perfect fadeaway jumpers, left them mesmerized. This is also why, in such a short time, you gained so many fans. Rather than watching a group of giants crowding under the basket, they'd rather watch your variety of fancy plays. It was a visual feast. It was the students' turn to attack again. They still wanted to play fast. Their guard called for a pick and roll just like you did, and then tried to shoot. But seeing this, a smirk appeared on your lips. Before their screener could even get into position, you quickly closed in to apply pressure. The student team's guard, seeing you deviate from the script, quickly panicked. A dribbling error caused the ball to slip away, and you didn't miss the chance. Stimulated by the adrenaline, your reactions were levels faster than usual. With a whoosh, you grabbed the ball and sprinted toward the front court, already performing like a god under the influence of hormones. Coupled with the system's fast break finisher badge, your speed was like an arrow released from a bow, flying straight toward the enemy's heart. Fast as lightning, swift as the wind. By the time the students' guard snapped back, you had already reached the basket for a layup. Crazy. The fans in the stadium went wild. In under 2 minutes, you scored 8 alone. It was all achieved through such a brilliant performance. How could they possibly stay calm? The cheers and screams ignited Real Madrid Stadium, and your hot streak simultaneously energized the other Real Madrid players. Although they couldn't help you much on offense, they became exceptionally active on defense. Then, seeing that their perimeter offense wasn't working, the students attacked inside. However, driven by your fiery momentum, Real Madrid's interior defense also exploded with surprising power. A fierce block, leaving the fans in the stadium stunned. Then, after completing the block, seeing you already cutting for a fast break, a full-court pass landed steadily in your hands. With no one guarding the basket, you calmly scored with a layup. Boom, 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 boom. There was no stopping it now. The fans have gone crazy. They were so excited they almost forgot to breathe. The cheers now seemed to surpass the atmosphere of a La Liga final. The reason they felt such passion was because of your presence. All Real Madrid's points so far came from you. Now, the students' head coach, De Cavo, could no longer sit still. He stood up by the sidelines and shouted instructions. Unfortunately, the students' attack still failed. Then he started shouting and screaming to direct the defense. Clearly, his shouting had an effect. The student team's transition back to defense was noticeably faster. By the time you got the ball and entered the front court, they were already in their positions. After seeing their positioning, you didn't choose to drive to the basket, but suddenly came to a stop outside the three-point line. This stop was very sudden. The student team players were accelerating their retreat. They had no time to break. By the time they slowed down and stopped, you had already released the shot from beyond the arc. This trail behind three once again left the audience breathless. This is a pull-up trail behind three. Without a certain level of body control, an ordinary person couldn't make this kind of shot. And in the history of men's basketball, before the 2019 World Championships, in a warm-up game between Dragon Country and Brazil, at that time, Dragon Country was trailing Brazil. Dragon Country had possession for a three-pointer. João Rui fast broke to the front court but didn't take the trail behind three. Instead, he chose a fast break layup that missed, drawing criticism after the game. That was a typical lack of trail behind three ability. You practiced hard in the system for so many years. Your physical condition and ball handling far exceed your peers. Now although you felt the force was a bit too strong after the release. After all, the difficulty of this pull-up trail behind 3 is much higher than a regular 3, but fortunately, the trajectory of the ball looked straight. With a bang, the ball hit the backboard and bounced into the net. 133, you started 5 for 5. Your hand is like a Gatling gun glowing with blue light. Imagine, you've already scored 13 consecutive points, and it's not even halfway through the period. It seems you'll break your own league scoring record tonight. After glancing at your hand, you also started to smile. Such a hot hand, so hot that even you find it hard to believe. This feeling is truly exhilarating. Now you look up at the female lead in the stands. This is the first time you've realized that males, in front of females, will show their strongest selves. It's truly because that's exactly who you are right now. Now, you are in full fire mode. The Real Madrid players, seeing you so valiant, kept feeding you the ball. As a result, your score kept increasing, with one final three-pointer. Ending the first quarter, Real Madrid leads 28-18, and of those 28 points, 24 were scored by you. 24 points in a single quarter. Language is terrifying. Language, this score. Language not only broke your own single quarter scoring record in the youth team, but also broke Real Madrid youth team's history record. This is a quarter worthy of being recorded in the youth team's history books. And the key is, none of your points came from free throws. Every single one was a shot made. Not to mention the current European leagues. Even on a global league scale, this is an unbelievable feat. Dazzling the whole crowd, shocking the world. However, your performance wasn't over. Normally, it was your turn to rest in the second quarter, but you refused, eager to show off. You were already playing like a god today, and further stimulated by hormones. You didn't feel tired at all, so you returned early in Q2. When the opposing student team coach saw you hadn't rested, his eyes kept twitching. Can this beast just be human for once? He had hoped to catch up while you were resting. Now it's great. It's totally over. Just watch your performance then. You cooperated and continued the performance, starting with a three-pointer to open the game. The audience went from excitement to numbness. The Dragon Country youth is shooting. The Dragon Country youth scored again. Does he own this hoop? Why shoot right away? He shoots and scores. They didn't understand, but they didn't care, as long as it's satisfying. So a new round of cheering began. Until the end of the half, your score had reached 42 points. This tied your single-game high-score record in the EBA league. However, this time, you only used half a game. Now no one knows how many points you'll get. Many fans even began to anticipate that you could create a new record. Whether you can do it depends on whether the students gives you the chance. Until the return from halftime, the answer was soon revealed. After returning for the second half, the students still hadn't changed their defensive strategy. The reason was the same as the first half. Although you scored 42 points in the half, the students was only behind 45-53, trailing Real Madrid by only 8 points. Letting you score wasn't a bad thing for them, and Coach DeCavo was firm in his belief that your shooting touch would drop in the second half. You have to realize that the halftime break is much longer than the breaks between the first and second quarters. No one can maintain such a hot streak forever. However, reality soon gave him the answer. Real Madrid attacks first. You start by choosing a pick and roll for a three-pointer. Then, with a swish, the familiar sound of the ball hitting the net rings out. A drop in touch after halftime? That doesn't exist. After DeCavo saw this, he instinctively slapped his forehead. He's really seeing ghosts tonight. Do you have an 8x scope on your shots? It's like you're quick scoping. Every single shot goes in. Why are you such a beast? The fans in the arena have already gone wild. They know that they might be witnessing history tonight. The game continues. After the students scores, they turn back to defend. Their positioning now unconsciously closes in. It seems they are truly terrified of your shooting. Seeing their positioning, you didn't call for a screen this time. Instead, a fake three-pointer tricked the opponent into jumping. Then you drove straight into the paint, forcing a shot against the opposing center. There was body contact in the air, and the opposing center failed in his defense. The ref caught his push-off, who called a foul, but you still released the ball before landing, and the ball flew over the center's right hand, grazing the backboard and sliding in. That's a 2+1, a very beautiful 2+1. The arena erupts once again. You are truly playing out of your mind tonight. Every shot goes in. DeCavo could only shake his head with a helpless smile. The game on the court continues. The student team's offense is still playing well, but they never double-teamed you, letting your score continue to climb. Until the end of the third quarter, you scored another 20. Your personal score reached 62 points. This is an unbelievable score. Yet, even even more unbelievable things continued. The student team continued their offensive momentum and continued their defensive approach. After you returned from the fourth quarter break, your touch remained the same. You scored another 12 points this quarter, but the students' tenacity exceeded all expectations. With an unbelievable long-range shot, they managed to drag the game into overtime. However, once in overtime, your physical stamina advantage became apparent. After a full game of back-and-forth attacking, the students ran into stamina issues. Their shooting percentage plummeted. In contrast, you were still full of energy, sprinting all over the court. You sank another three-pointer, plus 2 fast break layups after steals. You accounted for all the points in overtime. Looking at the students, they were too tired to score. Finally, thanks to your beastly performance, Real Madrid defeated the students 98-91. The moment the game ended, almost all the arena fans stood up to cheer. This was not only because the home team won this epic game, but more because your score on the board broke history. 24 points in the first quarter, 18 points in the second quarter, 20 points in the third quarter, 12 points in the fourth quarter, plus 7 points in overtime. Over the whole game, you racked up 81 points, an unbelievable score. A score of great historical significance. At this point, you became the youngest Mr. 81 in history. Your insane performance not only fascinated Real Madrid fans and caught the Plata League's attention, they even extended an invitation for you to join. Your original purpose for coming to European basketball was to showcase your value here, and then head toward the ultimate destination, the NBA Hall of Fame. So you decisively accepted their request. Just like that, with your performance in 5 EBA games, you were promoted to a higher-level competition. It could be said you were ridiculously strong. On the last night of training with the youth team, you said goodbye to your teammates. Most of them, when you first joined the team, questioned you, but now they want you to stay. It had only been a short 2 months, but they still gave you their final blessings. After all, your hard work over these 2 months was something they all witnessed. Behind great strength, there is always unknown hardship. Although you had the system's support, but your achievements today, it also couldn't be without your hard training. However, your departure left head coach Raul feeling depressed. After all, he hoped to rise in his career through you. Unexpectedly, after only 75 games, a higher-level team poached you. Seeing his thoughts, you comforted him and agreed to publicly call him your mentor coach. This put his mind at ease, and he wished you even greater success. After all, the higher your future achievements, the more prestigious he would be as your mentor. Early the next morning, you arrived to report to Real Madrid basketball team. However, what awaited you was neither a friendly welcome nor polite greetings. Just like before, they all looked at you with skeptical eyes. Some players even showed open hostility towards you. You were already used to this from your past life. Combined with what you faced in this life, you were well prepared for such situations. All you could do was train hard, and then prove your value. You've been through a lot of hardship and injustice on this journey, but the results are finally heading in a positive direction. So what is there to complain about? After all, your luck and results were earned through your own desperate efforts, so you have your own pride. Thus, after a brief handover with the head coach, you began training. Real Madrid's basic training facilities, their staffing, and their training methods were clearly much more professional than those of the youth team. This is actually the so-called pyramid effect. The higher the league, the more resources available. This was why you agreed to join Real Madrid team. Time flew by. In the few days after joining the team, it was all training and team games. You didn't quickly get the chance to play after joining. This is an unavoidable drawback of the league's promotion system, where seniority often takes precedence. Even Pau Gasol, after being promoted to Barca's first team this year, didn't have many opportunities to play. Unless an unexpected emergency occurs, most young players, moving from lower to higher leagues, must start from the bench. This is one of the main reasons why many European players are late bloomers. However, you were already mentally prepared. With enough skill, such drawbacks can be overcome. In history, Rubio and Donich are typical examples of this, so after experiencing DNP, you weren't discouraged. Instead, you were more motivated. Without playing time, you seized every opportunity during team training to showcase your abilities. At the same time, you increased the training intensity within the system. After some time passed, You could clearly feel your perimeter shooting improving day by day, and after putting in enough effort, you finally saw the rewards. In the third game since joining Real Madrid, you finally got your chance to play. You played a total of 7 to 15 minutes as a substitute, making 3 of 5 3-pointers and 2 free throws, scoring double digits in your debut in the Plata League. But more than the points scored, what truly made you happy was that this game unlocked the perimeter scoring badge. During previous shooting practice, you had already hit a plateau. The final push from your performance in this game allowed you to break through. Congratulations to the host for unlocking the perimeter scoring badge. Bronze level long-range sharpshooter skill slightly improves the host's long-distance shooting stability. This is the third badge you've unlocked since getting the system. Combined with the previous court vision badge and the fast break badge, you are now a versatile two-way guard. Now, you were in an exceptionally good mood, like the most beautiful flower on the prairie, the fiery red sarilang, dreaming of the world, where fragrance fills the air. As the saying goes, hard-working children are always blessed by the goddess of luck. By being the first to arrive at the gym, and the last to leave many times, the head coach developed a positive impression of you, so he decided to give a child like you an opportunity. Once everyone arrived today, he announced to the team that you would be in the starting lineup for today's game. The news was sudden, but it didn't cause much of a reaction. During the few days you've been with the team, the effort you put in was obvious to all the other players. Moreover, at the age of 16, you played for a Plata League team, and in your first appearance, you scored double digits. For someone as gifted as you, they still want good relations with you. In other words, your starting role is something they've already accepted. It's just slightly earlier than the expected time. You are also a bit excited. You didn't expect the head coach of the proto team to trust you this much, so you nodded secretly to yourself. You'll use your strength to prove his trust is worthwhile. After announcing the starters, the head coach patted your shoulder and said, his earnest words revealed his expectations for you, while also showing his pressure. Starting you tonight was a spontaneous decision. If you don't perform well, his prestige in the team will also be affected. You looked at the head coach and nodded firmly, with a determined gaze. Your goal was always to follow the path Gasol once took, to enter La Liga within 1 year. Now that the head coach trusts you and gives you a chance, you must seize this opportunity. Seeing your reaction, the head coach nodded with satisfaction. He left after signaling the players to continue training. That evening, Real Madrid Arena was packed. Your game tonight is against the city rivals, Atletico Madrid. The city derby has made the fans' passion soar. An hour before the game, both teams entered the arena one after another to warm up. Your touch wasn't great at the start of the warm-up. This was because after finding out you were starting, you only did some light practice during the day to conserve energy for the more intense competitive match. This led to a sharp drop in training intensity, and your muscle reactions were slightly lagging. But once your body warmed up, you quickly got into the zone and returned to your normal level. Your perimeter shots were mostly hitting 80 to 90%. Since obtaining the long-range sharpshooter badge, you could clearly feel a significant improvement in your long-range stability. With the blast of the referee's whistle, accompanied by the cheers of the fans, the city derby between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid officially began. Real Madrid attacked first. You held it outside, using a screen from the center, and shot directly from behind the three-point line. This style of play was exactly the same as when you were in the EBA League. Compared to the ABA League, the Plata League has stronger physicality and higher tactical execution. But in terms of style, it's still consistent with the overall European trend. Facing this style of play, the opposing center shrunk back, staying in the paint, so your shot was almost uncontested. The ball spun through the air, tracing a high arc. With a swish, the three-pointer snapped through the net. Your first three-point attempt was a steady hit. Quickly after, the arena fans gave you a loud cheer. The Real Madrid coach saw this from the sidelines and looked pleased. One shot is insignificant in a game, but the very first shot of the game can reveal a player's competitive state. And your state tonight proves that his judgment and decision were correct. Turning back, Atletico Madrid's attack failed to score. Judging from the offensive performance, their overall strength is indeed weaker than Real Madrid's. However, Although the offense is weak, their defensive intensity is still quite good. Just as you brought the ball to the front court, wanting to repeat the same trick, the opposing guard navigated the screen, creating significant interference for you. This time, the same tactic did not work, and after Real Madrid's failed attack, Atletico Madrid launched a fast break and scored, and the Atletico Madrid fans also erupted in an amazing cheer. Truly a city derby, not just the players being invested, but their fans are the same, engaging in a battle of their own. This made the atmosphere of the game increasingly intense. Then Real Madrid's next attack failed. Your long-range stability after a screen is high, but that's provided the center can set the screen, and the one defending you tonight is also a short guard. He's as slippery as an eel. Real Madrid's center couldn't stop his movement. This led to your two shots, both being heavily contested, and Atletico Madrid pushed another fast break, easily scoring 2 points. The score is 74-73. Atletico Madrid takes control, taking the lead. Now the few Atletico fans in the stands get hyped, beating their chests and roaring, with spit flying everywhere. It becomes a vivid sight on the sidelines. Real Madrid attacks again. You bring the ball to the front court. After several failed pick-and-roll plays, you signal for everyone to space out. This choice of yours is quite unexpected, not just for your teammates. Even the head coach on the bench is stunned. European basketball values tactical execution. They didn't expect you to go for an ISO now. That's right, an ISO. Since the tactics aren't working, conquer them with individual skill. After seeing your signal to go solo, the other teammates, and even the coach didn't react negatively. Teammates start running the plays. Other than staring straight at you, the coach makes no move. The point guard is the brain of the team. Teammates must follow the point guard's lead. As for the head coach, he proactively put you in the starting lineup. He can't possibly sub you out now, so you became a privileged player on the court. In the following one-on-one defense you face, driving and changing direction repeatedly, fancy dribbling mixed with fake moves. It's a visual treat. Creating a sliver of space with a quick dribble, you decisively shoot a three-pointer. The opponent's shorter guard reacts quickly, closing in to contest the shot, but you are faster than him. You've already released the shot before he could threaten you. This is a difficult long-range shot. If you had taken this shot a few days ago, the accuracy wouldn't have been very high, but after obtaining the long-range sharpshooter badge, you've undergone a fundamental change, as the ball spins through the air in an arc, accompanied by a crisp sound. Three-pointer hit. Yes. Now, you excitedly wave your arm. This shot doesn't just represent your success, it's also the result of your hard work, the best possible outcome. After seeing this, Real Madrid coach can't help but pump his fist, his face full of excitement. Although your individual ISO contradicts the traditional European style, but who cares? If it goes in, it is good. Your shot ignites the arena. The Real Madrid fans next to the Atletico fans also start shouting at them. When the Atletico fans were roaring just now, they had already now seen you score. It finally gives them a reason to explode. This back-and-forth scene makes the game even more exciting. Your three-pointer boosts morale, but more important than morale is that it brings a subtle change to the situation. Atletico's fast break is good, but their half-court offense is mediocre. After you make the shot, their scoring efficiency plummets. Taking the 30 seconds they were defended by Real Madrid as an example, you can see that Atletico's tactics aren't working. Now it's Real Madrid's turn to attack. You dribble to the front court, signal to keep spacing out, choosing to ISO. Now the arena fans start getting excited. Many even stand up from the stands to cheer. In the Plata League before, they've never seen anyone play like this, but this style of play is exhilarating. You perform a series of crossovers again, but the opposing guard is tighter this time, giving you no space. Seeing this, you suddenly sprint forward, then quickly step back behind the three-point line. The Atletico guard has never seen such a skill. Caught off guard, he almost falls to the ground. First, create the space. Then, show no mercy. Swift as a blade. Three-pointer released and cleanly hit. Oh my god. What kind of playstyle is this? It's just too cool. The fans are stunned. Where have they ever seen such a way of playing? European basketball. Isn't it supposed to be just a few big guys crowding the paint? Since when did people start playing like this? This gorgeous solo visual gives them a different viewing experience. A visual feast that drives people crazy. They love this kind of individual heroic performance. Thus, the cheers and shouts ignite the venue once again, opening with consecutive three-pointers. Another three-pointer, harder than the last, which significantly boosted Real Madrid's momentum, and their defense became even more fierce. However, Atletico Madrid still managed to score 3, although the process was a bit clumsy, 11. But this score allowed them to temporarily stabilize the situation. But before they had time to catch their breath, you quickly brought the ball up for a fast break. Just as Atletico Madrid had finished setting up, you had already reached the three-point line, giving them no time to react. You shot as soon as you arrived, directly giving them a transition three. While the Atletico players were still bewildered, the ball had already swished through the net. Another three-pointer hit. Then this guy plays dirty. Who plays basketball like that? If you're so capable, let us set our formation and have a real half-court battle. How dare you shoot right away? What skill is that? You think you're great just because your shot is accurate? If you're so good, show me a dunk. Ref, I want to report someone for cheating. Perhaps your shot shocked the Atletico guard too much, that they were actually distracted when it was their turn to attack. Seeing this, you didn't hold back, decisively striking and stealing the ball, then quickly starting a fast break, a coast-to-coast drive for another 2 points, and this basket ignited the crowd once again. All 11 opening points were scored by you alone. The brilliant performance left the fans incredibly excited. Many of them didn't know who you were, but there were a few who had been following you since your youth team days. Quickly your name became known to the arena fans, and they began to chant your name frantically. Your crazy opening performance was a microcosm of your performance for the whole game, but you didn't score 81 points like in the EBA, partly because Real Madrid widened the gap in 3 quarters, making the final quarter purely for training the bench. On the other hand, was Atletico's strategy, which was different from the previous student teams. After the first quarter ended, they adopted a full-court double-team strategy against you, but this defensive approach also left their interior defense getting torn apart by Real Madrid's bigs. In the end, Real Madrid won 82-51 at home against Atletico, claiming victory in this city derby. You also made 9 three-pointers in a single game, breaking the record for most three-pointers in a Plata League game. The record was set 32 points, surpassing 7 people, the single-game scoring record of the Plata League, and it was also the single-game scoring record for under 18 players in the Plata League. After the game ended, you received a hero's welcome from Real Madrid fans. You not only gave them a spectacular game, but also allowed them to hold their heads high before the Atletico fans. They hadn't seen such a slaughter in a long time. Your great victory made them feel like generals who had defeated the enemy, routing the enemy army. However, due to your outstanding performance today, among the EuroLeague teams in Real Madrid's second tier, your profile appeared on the desk of Real Madrid head coach. Compared to the EBA youth team and the Plata League team, the EuroLeague of European basketball is where one truly sets foot in the professional arena. Players who can play in the EuroLeague are already considered elite powerhouses. Not only are there geniuses like you who skip 2 levels, but also many adult players who were cut from the top tier. This is also the true challenge you face after coming to Spain. Now, your eyes are full of determination. The road ahead is difficult and bumpy, but you forge ahead with a fearless spirit. Even if a high mountain blocks your way, you will level it to the ground. The competition in the EuroLeague is extremely intense, and your physical play is no longer like in previous leagues, where you had the advantage. Although EuroLeague games place great importance on set plays, but the system couldn't provide this kind of training for a while, so you can only get along well with your teammates and proactively ask them for extra practice to find your shortcomings in future training and continuously improve yourself through extra practice. However, the high-intensity training finally paid off. Although your physical condition was lacking, your technical skill was still relatively high. Combined with your high basketball IQ and your image of hard work, you soon earned the appreciation of the head coach. So in the month after joining the EuroLeague, you were exceptionally placed in the rotation. This made you incredibly excited. And in your EuroLeague debut, you put up a good performance, whether it was setting screens for teammates, even the choices after a teammate's pick and roll, and even how to avoid the opponent's pick and roll. You did everything perfectly. Not only were there no mistakes, but you even seized the opportunity to score 5 points. After all, it was your first time as a substitute, playing only 8 minutes, only 7 or 8 minutes, but to have such a performance is already considered outstanding. Remember, you are only 15 years old, while your opponents are powerhouses in their 20s and 30s. They are overwhelmingly strong, and this is just the beginning of your road to the top division. In the subsequent games, what you displayed was a steady playing style beyond your years, and using a high basketball IQ, you neutralized various attacks from strong enemies, which made the head coach trust you more. With such a performance, what followed was more playing time for you. In this way, you continuously improved yourself in the team, utilizing your understanding of basketball, and through coordination with your teammates. You spent half a year. During these 6 months, you fully adapted to the league's physicality and the game intensity. More importantly, as the games progressed, you gradually unlocked a series of system badges, such as the bronze-level pick-and-roll master badge, the bronze-level iron wall badge, and a bronze pick-and-roll dodger badge. These are all defensive badges related to pick-and-rolls. After all, European basketball places immense importance on the pick and roll, so it was only natural for you to unlock these. However, during these 6 months, besides these 3 newly acquired badges, what pleased you most was the basketball IQ badge. This was the first badge you obtained. During these 6 months in the league, you constantly learned basketball tactics through games, and even during your time outside of training, you were studying tactics. The result of this was that your tactical understanding continued to improve, which also raised your basketball IQ badge level from bronze to silver. Although it was only a 1-level increase, it brought your understanding of techniques and tactics to a whole new level, and after upgrading to the silver badge, the help was immediate. In the final 4 of the Euro playoffs, in the game against Juventus, you recorded your first triple-double of the season, with 13 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists, plus 3 steals and 1 block to turn the game around. This game also became a major turning point in the series. Real Madrid relied on the victory of this game to reach the finals, and ultimately won the championship. And based on your outstanding performance in that game, you were named the EuroLeague Final Four MVP. During 1 year in the European League, through your own hard work and a bit of luck, you won your first MVP trophy. Although it was only a second division trophy, with limited prestige, it was still dazzling enough. You should know that before you, no player from the Dragon country had made a name in Europe, not even in the lower leagues. But you broke this precedent. Of course, your brilliance here was unknown domestically, except to your parents. No one else knew. No one knew the MVP, a Spanish MVP, the most valuable player of the second division, was not yet worth reporting by the media. Domestic fans now only care about who will be the first to enter the NBA as a Dragon country player. Before this, the only Dragon country person in the NBA's sight was Song Tao, selected in the 3rd round of 1987, at the 67th pick by the Hawks, but he ultimately missed the NBA due to injury. Moreover, NBA attention back home was low then. However, as the new NBA Commissioner Stern, after the famous 40-minute wait in 1989, and knocking on the doors of CCTV, the NBA finally gained attention domestically. Fans began to have expectations for it. Now, the one they anticipate most is the win-chasing youth of the Bai team, who, years ago at the Atlanta Games, blocked Admiral David Robinson, Wang Zhizhi. According to previous news, Wang Zhizhi is very likely to be drafted by the NBA this year. So compared with your Spanish second division MVP, NBA news is what fans care about more. But you didn't care about these things. Or in other words, your ambitions go far beyond this. The 1997 to 1998 top division season ended. After a brief off-season, you would also welcome the curtain raiser of the new season. It was thought you would likely remain in the EuroLeague, but on the eve of the season's start, the assistant coach of Real Madrid from the top division came to the locker room, because the team's original starting point guard chose to return to the domestic league, and the team ultimately failed to find a suitable replacement. In the end, with no other option, they had to accept the loss of strength at this position, and started turning their attention to newcomers. And at this time, you, who had consistently shown highlight performances over the past year, naturally entered their line of sight. Just like that, with 95.5% effort plus 4.5% luck, you replicated Pau Gasol's feat from a year ago, completing 3 leaps in a single year, and joined Real Madrid basketball team in Liga ACB. After joining the league, there were still a full 4 months until your first game. During this time, you didn't relax and rest like other players, but persisted in self-improvement training. Of course, there were moments of relaxation. And in Spain, football is naturally the most watched sport. And this year happened to be the quadrennial World Cup. You still remembered the '98 World Cup vividly. After all, in your previous life, you remembered many people during this World Cup ended up losing everything. Besides the memories of those losses, you knew France eventually won the championship, and you used this information to make a small investment. After all, improving your financial situation was necessary. Of course, the process and result were the same as your previous life. When you saw your account, an extra 13 million pesetas, your smile was impossible to hide. Although your dream in this rebirth was to reach the peak of the basketball world. But who would complain about too much money? As they say, money isn't everything. But without money, you can do nothing. After making a small fortune, you threw yourself back into high-intensity training. Time flew by. In your selfless training, the long off-season finally came to an end. But at the start of the new season, as if all your luck was gone, you weren't given much playing time. Instead, you became a fringe player. It wasn't because your skills declined, or because of your height. After all, during your year in Spain, you grew to a normal height of 1.72 meters. Although you couldn't compare to those gifted monsters, but playing as a guard was more than enough. The reason for this was because Real Madrid had these big names: Dragan Kikanovic, Arvydas Sabonis, and Dražen Dalipagic. They were all European superstars outside the NBA. Sabonis needs no introduction. He was the one who impressed all the NBA stars, the king of Europe. And Dragan Kikanovic was also a legendary figure. Unfortunately, his fate was regrettable. As a European player, in the 5th year of his NBA career, he averaged over 20 points per game, and in subsequent seasons, it even increased to 22 and 3 points, and in those 2 seasons, he led the team to the playoffs as the star player. But unfortunately, a car accident took his life. Many said, if his career could have continued, he would have surpassed Ginobili. As for the last one, Dražen Dalipagic, he was a legend among legends. He was recognized by many stars as the strongest player outside the NBA, winning 11 MVPs over an 18-year career, plus 10 various European League championships. It can be said that he was a superstar among superstars in the European leagues. In a Real Madrid team so full of talent, the difficulty of standing out is imaginable. Then there is Real Madrid's head coach, Lasso, a mid-career coach in his early 40s. His coaching philosophy was relatively very traditional, but your style of play was too far beyond the understanding of this era. After all, offensive point guards, until Rose won MVP in 2011, were finally accepted by the world, and the shooting point guard style was only recognized after Curry in 2014. So naturally, you were excluded from the rotation by the head coach. After being tempered in the 2nd division, you were experienced with such situations. You didn't change your style just to get playing time, but instead chose to increase your efforts, to continue training your own style. In fact, before Curry, there were plenty of shooting guards. Among them, Arenas is one of the representative figures. However, as a point guard, not shooting threes is a conventional habit. Not that they can't shoot. So if you get shot chances in a game, I believe the coach will naturally put you on the court. Of course, changing this situation is very difficult, so do as you did before in the EuroLeague. Stay patient, train hard, wait for your opportunity. However, as time passed, Real Madrid's record had more wins than losses, and you only had limited garbage time, appearing a few times, with no standout performances at all. External doubts about you grew larger and larger. After all, a genius player who jumped 3 levels in a year has some notoriety in La Liga, and you chose to ignore their doubts, but instead trained even more frantically. You constantly improved your shooting percentage, and began to increase your scoring methods. Given your current physical condition, and your technical characteristics, only the deep three-pointer is the skill that can elevate you. After all, in the current European leagues, three-pointers are not yet highly valued, let alone deep three-pointers. If you can master the deep three, your chances of scoring on court will be greater. Since you chose the path of a scoring point guard as your goal, then take it to the extreme. Starting from zero to practice threes takes a long time, but from a three to a deep three, the time spent is relatively much less. Moreover, your strength is sufficient to support your requirements. So the problem now is, you need to adapt to a new range. The distance is enough. Just like that, another half year passed. Your height continued to grow, and your strength continued to improve, but you still didn't have many chances to play. However, hard work eventually pays off. With your positive attitude, you never complained to the team or the head coach about any injustice. Instead, you cooperated well with the team's arrangements and built relationships with other players. They could all see your hard work, and they were very willing to be friends with you. In these 6 months, although you didn't play much, you made friends with the players. The head coach's impression of you also soared. Just as you were preparing to start today's training, head coach Lasso announced a piece of news. The team's guard Prigioni was injured. It was caused by improper individual training, resulting in a sprained ankle, and the situation was quite serious, expected to be out for about a month. After hearing this news, you knew your chance had come. The La Liga season is long. Player injuries happen from time to time, and among them, guards have the highest probability of injury, because European point guards are mostly focused on playmaking tasks. Relatively, their ability to handle contact is weaker. To put it, they are all glass cannons. Real Madrid's roster had 3 slots. Now that the rotation guard is injured, you naturally entered the rotation, and your performance after entering the rotation was quite outstanding, although your style of play remained unchanged. But with the help of the silver-level basketball IQ badge, your playmaking ability was actually not bad at all. Not to mention that in your style of play, when the current tactics couldn't be executed, you would often receive bailout passes from teammates. If other guards refused those bailout passes, you, however, loved them, and your accuracy was very high. Over time, when every bailout pass from teammates became an assist, they began to pass to you proactively, and then it slowly evolved. The head coach also began to accept your style of play. He even specifically designed 1 or 2 shooting tactics after a pick and roll. Just like that, after spending most of the season on the cold bench, you finally saw the light of dawn. If one says all this happened by chance, only you know the truth. For this moment to arrive, how arduous the effort and sweat you put in were. Opportunity only favors the prepared, and you were the one who seized the opportunity. A month later, the team's Prigioni returned from injury, and relying on your stable performance, you pushed out the previous player, becoming the backup point guard, and shortly after, in the game against Canaria, you delivered the performance of the season. You appeared for 20 minutes as a substitute. A performance of 11 points and 2 assists on 4 of 7 shooting, shined across the entire court. Don't underestimate the value of these 11 points. The intensity of the Spanish league is extremely high, and each quarter is only 10 minutes long. Plus, the shot clock at this time is still 30 seconds, consistent with FIBA. The pace can be described as quite slow. After a full game, the entire team's score might only be around 60 or 70 points. Players who can average over 5 points here are already starters. Averaging over 10 points makes you a core member of the sect. If you can average 15 points, that's incredible. Definitely at the sect elder level. Even someone as strong as Gasol, a natural genius of the sect, his average stats before entering the NBA: 3 points, 5, 2 rebounds. Even Rubio, who possesses earthly talent, was only 14, 5 points, 6, 2 rebounds, 3, 1 assist, elder-level stats. So you can imagine how heavy the value of your 11 points today is. But compared to today's stats, what makes you even happier is that you have finally unlocked another badge. And this time, the badge is no longer for defense, but an offensive badge. Congratulations to the host for unlocking the Bronze Unlimited Range badge. Badge ability slightly increases your accuracy and stability of 3-point shots from further distances. This badge is crucial for you right now. As your playing time in games increases, your opportunities to shoot also increase. The defenders are practically stepping on the 3-point line. In this situation, being able to extend your range will be of greater help to you on the court, and the facts prove that your thinking was correct. In your subsequent performances, you caused head coach Lasso's perception of you to undergo a leap-like change. He even began considering putting you in the starting lineup, and this soon became a reality. The reason for this was that in one game, the starting guard's performance really declined. Firstly, his offensive ability was too weak, and secondly, your defensive ability gave him the greatest confidence. Yes, you heard that right. The most important reason you were put in was not because of your offensive ability, but because of your defensive ability. Generally speaking, shorter players' defense is relatively not very strong. Some shorter players are even getting dominated on the court, but you are an exception. Over this past year, your constantly growing body brought not only an increase in height, but also a corresponding increase in strength. Your original defensive ability was already exceptionally excellent. Coupled with the increase in strength, European guards matched up against you couldn't move you. And more importantly, your basketball IQ is also very high. You aren't fooled by opponents' fake moves at all. This means that even when your height isn't an advantage, you still won't become a defensive liability for the team. You've even become a defensive powerhouse. So naturally, you became a starter for Real Madrid in the Spanish league. If now, LeBron James saw your current data analysis, he would definitely shout and say, "Isn't this exactly the 3-and-D player I've been looking for?" Hard work pays off. Instead of spending time complaining about the world, it's better to use it for self-improvement. And you, like a fallen leaf in the darkness, always looked up searching for a bright point of light. So the brilliance you've gained now comes from your passion and refusal to bow. Keep it up. Youth of long country, time flies, the sweat is still there. You earned a starting spot, and the first game of your career as a starter followed. The opponent was also the team you faced when you first arrived in Europe, the FC Barcelona basketball team of the Spanish league. The gears of fate begin to turn once again now. The clash between Real Madrid and Barcelona is always the center of attention, no matter when. They are like two elderly men on the brink of death. One says he likes the tranquility of a gentle breeze, while the other says, "Sorry, I only like 2K, and so, a divergence was born, which has continued until now. As usual, the venue was packed to capacity. The excitement of the Barcelona fans was beyond words. Today is their home game. They were shouting loudly, as if proclaiming their sovereignty, and the fewer Real Madrid fans were not to be outdone, each possessing an indomitable spirit and an unstoppable heroic momentum. Before the pre-game entrance, after the starting lineups were introduced, the two teams greeted each other. You and Gasol lock eyes, then exchange a slight smile. Two gifted talents of the same era will face each other for the first time today. Between them, there is a sense of mutual respect. But after a moment of admiration, they realize today's protagonist seems to have nothing to do with them. The two newcomers feel awkward. Scratching their heads, they return to their respective positions. The game begins. Barca attacks first. In the first possession, Gasol waits at the high post for a screen. Then Navarro uses the screen to drive in for a floater. But Real Madrid's interior player Garbajosa jumps, blocking most of his shooting angles. Navarro's floater misses. Garbajosa seizes the rebound. Real Madrid turns to attack. Prigioni organizes the half-court offense. After the ball swings around, it reaches Garbajosa's hands. Then Garbajosa's shot after receiving the ball is also defended by Gasol. The game now is exactly like the games you've experienced before. European basketball has no defensive 3-second rule, so teams' offenses still focus on interior attacks. In their minds, the most common belief is that the closer to the basket, the higher the shooting percentage. This is the start of a typical European defensive battle. The curtain rises. By the time the first half is nearly over, the score is only 6-6. Although their scoring efficiency is low, the intense, physical clashes on the court still keep the fans very excited. Right now, Gasol finally gets a chance to show his footwork inside, turning and powering past Garbajosa to score. Barca finally takes the lead with 8-6, overtaking Real Madrid for the first time. The crowd erupts in cheers. The reason they are so excited is that since the start of this season, Barca has been dominated by Real Madrid. But this time, due to changes in Real Madrid's lineup, their offense has not been smooth. Meanwhile, Barca started a few games ago to decisively use new players. Gasol's presence on the court has also made their offense relatively smoother than Real Madrid's, and Gasol has also effectively limited Garbajosa's offense. Seeing this, Real Madrid's head coach Lasso gave instructions from the sidelines to change tactics, and after you see the new tactical instructions, joy appears on your face, because that is the signal for an exterior tactic. In European basketball, the requirements for tactics and execution are quite strict. If you are on the court and don't play according to the coach's requirements, even if you are the core of the team, you'll be benched in a heartbeat. So although you have a very high percentage outside shooting technique, no matter how tense the game becomes, you don't dare act rashly. So you have been waiting, and this moment has finally arrived. The Barca fans' cheers remain loud, and now it's Real Madrid's turn to attack. Prigioni directs the tactics in the frontcourt. You begin to curl around the screen from the left, looking for a three-point opportunity. Garbajosa quickly steps up after seeing you move, screening your defender on the right. Now you've found an open spot. Prigione's pass arrives instantly. The ball arrives the moment you do. Prigione, who holds a steady spot as Real Madrid's starting guard, indeed has some skill. His passing is truly outstanding. Not only is the pass accurate, but it's also comfortable for the receiver. After receiving the ball, you don't need to adjust at all. You strike quickly, releasing a three-pointer. Gasol, who switched on to you, has no time to step up and block. The ball already traces a beautiful arc, landing precisely in the net. The shot is clean and decisive, like a bucket of ice water poured from the sky, instantly dousing the emotions of the arena fans. Seeing the tactic succeed, the head coach relaxes his furrowed brow. Although this tactic goes against traditional play, as long as the ball goes in, it's a good tactic. Turning back, Barca's Navarro attacks with the ball. After a series of position swaps, he comes face to face with you. He wants to use his height advantage to overpower you, but after some physical contact, he realizes your strength is equal to his. Navarro's forced shot misses. After Garbajosa secures the defensive rebound, he quickly turns and passes the ball to Prigione, and after Prigione receives the ball, he quickly winds up his arm and flings the ball from the backcourt. Just the moment after Navarro took the shot, you quickly ran toward the front court because of your absolute confidence in your defensive ability. After Navarro's shot, you knew the ball wouldn't go in, and as for Garbajosa's rebounding ability, you had enough trust in him, so you ran to the front court without looking back, and your trust in your teammates paid off. The moment before you reached the front court, the ball appeared in your hands as expected. Now, there was no one in front of you. An easy layup for another 2 points. Just 1 minute between one offense and one defense. And in the slow-paced EuroLeague, you easily scored 5 points just like that, instantly fulfilling the daily standard of a starter. Truly overwhelmingly strong. Now, Barca head coach was furious. As a result, he stood on the sidelines, shouting and cursing at his players, and you were also greeted by his glare. To this, you could only feel helpless. The Barca head coach was truly angry right now. It's not that he couldn't accept the lead being taken, but the reason for his anger was that these 5 points were scored too easily, making them look foolish. So his rage began to burn. Clearly, his anger had some effect. Barca's defense on you significantly tightened, making it hard for you to find open spots off ball. You also didn't get any good scoring opportunities, so the game returned to the initial defensive battle. As the game continued, the scores of both teams stagnated. However, during one of Real Madrid's attacks, you broke the deadlock once again. Garbajosa had no chance under the interior defense. Seeing that the 30-second clock was almost up, he habitually, in the final seconds, flung the ball to you. Now, after catching the ball, you were at least a meter away from the three-point line. In the eyes of most players, this position is a spot where a shot cannot be made. Even the player defending you had already turned around, preparing to crash for the defensive rebound. And seeing the time almost up after catching the ball, you didn't hesitate any longer, and completed the shot before the buzzer sounded. The shot was very rushed, but the trajectory was straight. The unlimited range badge provided the stability that played its part. The basketball was as precise as a long-range cruise missile, crashing violently and quickly into the hoop. With a swish, the scene went dead silent, as if the pause button had been pressed. Fans widened their eyes in disbelief, watching this scene. Now your clutch image shines brightly, until you raised your right hand, making a shooting gesture toward the hoop. Only then did the crowd erupt in surprise, as if turned back on. Oh my God, who on earth is he? Is he a child of God? How could he make a shot like that? You don't need to be surprised by their reaction. When Curry first bombed the NBA perimeter in this way, actually, our feelings were exactly the same as the spectators described in the book. The emotion was truly explosive. After scoring, you were as happy as a child, hopping back to the defensive end. That shot just now, that swish, was the best result of your hard training over the past 6 months. Handing in the results, you sat on that cold bench for half a year. Anyone else would have felt unwilling, but you endured and worked hard, constantly telling yourself that you would definitely prove yourself. When that time comes, please announce loudly to the world that you, Longguahao, are not a waste who gives up. You use your hard work to prove yourself, showing you can shine in the world like a giant. You clenched your fist tightly, looking forward with a determined gaze. Dreams and hard work are the best answers you gave to your youth. Now, on Real Madrid bench, the head coach also clenched his fist. He was also infected by the emotion you radiated, and he was happy for the reward received from his trust in you. During these 6 months, he had actually thought many times about giving you a chance to play. After all, those who work hard deserve a chance of trust. It's just that although the team seemed stable, there were still many uncertain factors, which was the reason why he didn't dare to use you easily. This shot of yours brought a huge boost in morale to Real Madrid, and Barca was provoked by this shot. Both sides defended hard again. However, the intensity of the confrontation and the marking on you both increased by a level. Until the first quarter ended, the score was only 16-8, among which you alone scored 8 points, already equal to the score of the entire Barca team. This made the entire Barca squad look at you as if you were the murderer of their fathers. They practically wanted to eat your heart out. It's no wonder they were so furious. They worked so hard inside the paint for ages just to get 8 points, but you didn't play by the rules, just threw in a few and matched their whole team. How could they accept that? So, in the following games, your opportunities on the perimeter were shut down, but their understanding of you was limited only to your shooting. They had no idea about your driving ability, which is your real ticket into the EuroLeague. Then, in the subsequent games, your seal was lifted by the head coach, and you went full power. After activating various badge abilities, you gave Barca no chance at all. Finally, Real Madrid defeated Barca 71-61, and you delivered a performance of 23 points and 3 assists, a perfect performance, ending your first start. And your 23 points also broke the record in the Spanish league for players under the age of 18 for the highest single-game score. And this record of yours quickly appeared in the Spanish sports newspapers. The image was of your ultra-long three-pointer and your shooting pose after the goal, paired with a dominating headline, "Youth from Dragon Country leads Real Madrid to sweep Barca and breaks the ACB League U18 scoring record," making you, in a short time, rise to fame in the Spanish Basketball League. And your performance today secured your spot as a starter. In the time that followed, you also gained the right to take more shots. However, as the games progressed, other teams became familiar with your style. Relying solely on long-distance shooting is no longer as effective. As for your driving, when facing opponents of the same height, it still posed some threat, but trying to find a player shorter than you in the Spanish league was indeed quite difficult for them. So, in the following period, you expanded your arsenal while playing games, and the weapon you chose this time was the drive. That's right, the drive. You just said, didn't you, that your driving has no advantage when facing players taller and faster than you? Why still practice driving then? Actually, your driving still possesses a certain lethality, but due to physical talent limitations, it only seemed lacking in power. As long as you enhance the power of the drive, it will definitely be your most important weapon in the future. And the key to driving lies in the movement of the first step. Many NBA players' strength in driving is in their first step. For example, Iverson, T-Mac, Rose, they were all like this. Right now, you might not have reached their level yet, but with a direction, the goal is no longer far away. In this way, you spent another half-season at Real Madrid, and during this half-season, averaging 7 to 8 assists per game, you excellently completed the SEC mission. For a 17-year-old youth, this was already a quite outstanding performance, and you also finished the regular season in first place, entering the Spanish League playoffs. During this time, your various abilities also improved greatly, especially the long-distance sharpshooter badge, which rose to the silver stage. Combined with your hard-practiced driving technique, it made you, during games, someone the opponents had to watch constantly. After achieving the first-place record in the regular season, Real Madrid's only remaining goal was the final championship. Here, we must mention the unique format of the Spanish league. It's not like the NBA, where they play series continuously until a final champion is decided. Nor is it like the NCAA, where a single game decides it. Staging the March Madness, its format is a hybrid between the two. There are only 17 teams in the Spanish league. Only the top 8 teams can enter the playoffs. The 8 teams that enter the playoffs in the first round will use a best-of-5 series format to decide the final 4. Once they reach the final 4, it's like the NCAA again, using a single elimination format for the semis and finals. There is no absolute good or bad format, but one striking point of this design is that it's what's thrilling? Real Madrid's first-round playoff opponent was the 8th-ranked Radar team. Facing an opponent clearly weaker than themselves, Real Madrid didn't give them much of a chance. In 3 games, the battle ended in a crushing victory, and your playoff performance was even more outstanding, contributing an average of 9.5 points per game. You took the position of the team's second leading scorer. After the first round of games ended, the playoff Final Four were set. The Final Four of the playoffs were born. The playoff Final Four were set. They were Real Madrid, Manresa, Barcelona, and Alicante. The format for the Final Four competition was a single-game elimination. Besides being thrilling, this kind of match is prone to upsets. The feel and state of the players in a game. These factors' influence is infinitely magnified. NCAA's March Madness is loved by fans, precisely because it's famous for upsets. In fact, even in the NBA, no team wins every game in the regular season. Upsets happen from time to time, because in a single game, there are too many uncertainties. In Real Madrid's match against Alicante, they encountered exactly this. Real Madrid's feel and form were mediocre. On the other hand, the Alicante team, led by the youngster and Calderon, played with great momentum. This backup guard, only 1 year older than you, showed the potential of a top-tier point guard. His control over the game's tempo and his distribution of tactical offense. Calderon suppressed Prigioni. Coupled with Alicante's excellent shooting, Real Madrid fought until the end, but couldn't turn the game around. The final score settled at 58-66. Although you still scored 11 points, second highest on the team, it ultimately didn't change the historical outcome. You couldn't help the team achieve a comeback. Real Madrid stopped at the Final Four. You also welcomed your first offseason. Looking back at the gains of these 2 years, you were quite satisfied. From entering EBA to now being in ACB, not only did you achieve the feat of jumping 3 levels, but your growth changed you inside and out. From 1.60 m when you first entered the league, you've grown to 1.73 m now. Then there's starting with only 1 bronze badge, to now having a luxury lineup of 2 silver and 5 bronze. Compared to yourself 2 years ago, this growth is a qualitative leap. And the most important thing next is to keep striving for excellence in the new season, and go further, because your goal has always been the NBA stage. And with your current performance, at most, you'd only be a starter in the NCAA. And if you enter the NBA stage, what you will face are the super monsters of the so-called 96 Golden Generation. So there is still a long way to go. During the offseason, you chose not to return home, but instead stayed here to keep training. Those who shared the same thought were the team's starting point guards, Prigioni and Gabayosa. It seems the loss of Real Madrid hit them quite hard, and they also wanted some extra training during the offseason. So the 3 of you accompanied each other to carry out your respective self-improvements. During the time of arduous training, the friendship between you further warmed up. After 1 day of training, Prigioni happily invited you to have dinner with Gabayosa. According to him, it was a wonderful Western restaurant, with the most delicious food he had ever eaten. As for the guard's invitation, you were very willing to accept. Most of the team's ball possession is in his hands, so it's necessary to build a good relationship with him. As for the delicacies he mentioned, you didn't take it seriously. For someone from the Dragon Country, who in the world could compete with our cuisine? With our grand 5,000 years of culinary civilization, it is truly the peak of the world. And the result was just as you imagined. His so-called delicacies made you feel a pitying sympathy for him. This kid really hasn't eaten anything good. A paella made with raw rice actually almost made him cry with joy. Other foods were either fried or steamed, and even the grilled meat was just grilled until cooked. He actually said this was the best food he'd ever had. So, to save his perspective on food, you decided to buy him a meal, to show him what real delicacies are. After the agreed time, you went to the supermarket to buy ingredients. Although your cooking skills aren't top tier, because of your previous life, having lived alone, you also have decent cooking skills. Meat in Spain is relatively cheap, while vegetables are quite expensive. However, your investments in the World Cup made you a bit of a small millionaire, so you weren't stingy, and went on a massive shopping spree, just to save the poor Prigioni. Things like spicy chicken, sour and spicy potato shreds, chopped chili fish head, beef stew with potatoes, and iron pot roasted goose, you'll make them all. And then barbecue, to show him real barbecue.